Hi there, today we're going to be talking about this book, Amelia Unabridged, by Schumacher. I'm not sure I did pronounce that right. I'm not going to be neutral about this book because, I've been having a hard time lately, and this book, when you pick a book that it's really what you need to read in that moment, and it answers questions that you didn't know that you had, or even where you're having thoughts and you're quite like adrift and not sure about anything, and then you open the book and begin reading, and there is this paragraph, and there is this quote, and there is this sentence, and it seems like they were writing for you just in the moment that you read them. This has happened to me twice, well, more than twice, but there has been two times in which this book has like punched me in the guts. One of them was yesterday. I'm not going to detail about everything that's going on, but I was crying, and then I opened the book, and the first paragraph that I read was something that I took like it was like if there was a person telling me those things, because that was exactly what I needed to hear and to understand. And it happened again today. I was having thoughts, and I began reading, and on the second page there was like this conversation, and there's this, these sentences, and I was like, it has happened again. This has been writing for me. And sometimes these kind of things happen, that you pick up a book that you think that you're going to enjoy, that you're going to like, and if you are like me, a moody reader that picks a book like I feel like I should read that, or I think that now will be the time to enjoy this book, then maybe it has happened to you, and it's amazing when it does happen. So I have to say that this book has been what exactly I needed to read in this moment in my life. And I have to say that it's amazing. It's very raw. It has lots of strength. It's amazing. I'm going to explain to you what this book is about. And the cover, when you read the book, the cover, it's so amazing, so whimsical. I love this book. I cannot believe it's the first book that the author has written, because it's so amazing. It looks like, I don't know, it's going to be one of the best books I have ever read in my life. So yeah, we're going to be following Amelia, our main character. She has a friend called Jenna. They have been together like forever, since at the beginning of the book we have Amelia, and her dad is skipping town because he has met someone younger, and and she leaves her wife and Amelia behind. And the mother is very, it's not very present. So she kind of blames Amelia, because she says, hey, tell your father to stay, because, he needs to stay because of you. And she says, no, if he wants to leave, let him leave. And then the mom closes herself off from life, from her daughter. So Amelia begins wandering and ends up in a bookstore. And then Jenna, this girl, they hadn't been friends. Jenna, it's like one of those people who pull other people around her, that they have this gravitational pull. But she has never had like a cliche of friends or whatever. And so Amelia is very surprised when Jenna reaches out to her, and they began this amazing friendship that revolves around lots of things, but most important, books. Because when Amelia enters the bookstore, Jenna says, pick anything you want, it's my treat. And she picks a book that she's going to love, and it's going to be like like the center point of this book, because they talk about this book, and they it's like a bonding experience for them, and it's amazing how close they come. But then something horrible happens, and Jenna dies, and Amelia is left heartbroken and kind of blaming herself, because she thinks, if I had been there, maybe I could have done something. Maybe I could have helped her. Maybe I could have, protect her, or just be there when she was dying. And then she begins to think about all those things that when we have had someone we love die, it's like, and the last time that I talked with them, I didn't say, or I didn't do. She begins to think, I didn't hold her enough. I didn't tell her enough how I loved. And suddenly it's like, suddenly no, she's dealing with all this trauma of having lost someone who was so young. They were having conversations about which school they were going to go, what kind of profession they were going to do. They were going to be friends forever. And Amelia is confronted with this realization that not everyone dies when they are old and accomplished. Sadly, death doesn't wait for anyone, and it can take people when they are younger. And she feels herself like very lost without her best friend, and she's used to think always in prayers, like, okay, what will I do? Okay, Jenna will say to me to do that. They have this very amazing relationship, and now Amelia, it's like this ship that floats away without knowing where to go, what to do. And suddenly things change because she gets a book. It's sent to the bookstore where they met the first time, and she doesn't know who sent the book. And it comes from another bookstore in another place. So she calls there and says, "Hey, I got this book. It's in a special edition of this series of this author that I love, but it doesn't say who sent it or why." And the person who speaks with her, it's a guy called Alex, and he says, "I don't know what you're talking about." But there is like this pregnant silence. So finally, it gets to be all too much to Amelia. She begins to think that it has something to do with Gina, that Gina is like sending the book to her, that there is some kind of pulling her towards the other bookstore, that she has to go there because Gina send this book to her somehow, some way, before everything went down, and she feels like she has to go there to solve the mystery. And then she begins to meet people, and I'm not going to explain much more about the plot because I don't want to ruin it for you, but I have to say that this book is amazing because it's a book about friendship, about this friendship that these two girls that end up being family, that sometimes you don't need to have the same blood, that sometimes you have a family, you are born into one, and sometimes you make your own family. Because Gina dies, but Amelia gets to keep the relationship she had with Gina's parents that loved her and protected her, and nurtured her when Amelia's mother was really absent from her life. And it's a book about loss, about grief, about death, about how these things changes you, how you think that you are like untouchable, that I think every human being has gone through this. That's why this book is so amazing, that before death has come from someone who's very close to you, you think of it like as as something that's very far, that's not going to happen to you. You don't understand how the loss of someone can shape your life. So this book talks about that. But what I want to say, it's not a moopy book. You can cry reading it because it has lots of very touching moments. But what I did love about this book is that while it has these moments in which there's a lot of pain and a lot of grief, it has like a very positive outcome. Like, if you are feeling this grief now, it's because you love that person, and that's beautiful, and that makes you think that everything that you had, it was amazing, and you're feeling like shit, sorry for the expression, and you're crying and you're feeling lost because you did have so many feelings for that person. And it's a book about learning how to live again, how to... I believe that when you lost someone, that's my experience at least, they say that time heals all wounds, but I think that when you lose someone, you kind of get used to this new life and you get on. You never forget, and at the beginning you cannot stop crying and it hurts, but with time you began to recounter all the happy times, all the laughs, all the things, and maybe you're you're laughing and crying at the same time, because that's life. Life is a mess, and that's something that is it's been said here. We are all messes in our ways. And I love that this book can talk about grief and death and pain and also about joy. And there's this very powerful paragraph in what it says that sometimes we feel guilty because in the middle of all this pain, of all these tears, we began to see things that make us happy. And at the beginning, maybe we feel guilty because we shouldn't be, feeling happy. The sun shouldn't be shining, it should be all desolate, and you feel guilty, and then you feel guilty for thinking, because you should be able to move on, and it's all very complicated. And in this book, there's this quote that says that you have a right to have all these feelings, all this confusion, all this rightness and wrongness, and to feel happy and not to give a thought of if it's correct or if it's not correct, but it's life, and it gets, and it's amazing. It's amazing. It's an amazing book. Yeah, I mean, I'm not making it justice, but you need to read this. Also, if you're a book lover, which you are seeing this review, probably you are, it's a book that's going to have a lot of references to other books and about the importance and the impact that books and stories have on us. Since we are kids and our parents read to us, and when we need a world to escape and we pick a book and hide away inside it, or when we see new worlds inside books, and how we began stories and what we like about books and how books can shape yourself, and as I say at the beginning of the review, talk to you directly, even though the person who has written this book did write it, I don't know, like 1 year ago, and I'm reading it now, and it's like touching me very very profoundly. And the magic of a book and the magic of a story. And it talks also about authors, and sometimes don't forget that authors are real people and they can have their own insecurities, and we shouldn't demand that they offer themselves to us. They are their own people, and we have to respect and we have to enjoy the books. And obviously we can scream and say, wow, that was amazing, and we can go to them and say thank you, it was amazing, but maybe don't follow them on the streets, and don't don't harass them, think of them as real people. And yeah, it talks about friendship, it talks about second chances, it talks about forgiving yourself, of letting go of the guilt, of an understanding that sometimes in life thing happens that cannot be controlled and cannot be changed, and maybe those things are like stepstones in which you keep on growing and changing and being the better version of yourself that you know how to be. And I love how real the characters are. I love how lyrical this book is. I love how amazing this story is. And I love how sometimes there's like these references where Amelia says, if that was a romance book or if it was a storybook, this will happen. But this is real life, and nothing of that happens, and what happens is real life. And I love that because this book really feels real. It's not sugared, it's not, it's very, as I say, it's very raw, it's very powerful. And for me, it has been such an honor to read this book. I don't know how much it will impact me when I began reading it, and I'm very thankful to Ashley Schumacher for having written it, and for myself for having chosen to pick it up in the moment that I did, because it really has helped me a lot to read this book. I recommend this one to you because it's amazing, and as I say, it's one of the probably the favorite of this year, but probably favorite I don't know how to talk. It's been like one of my top books forever. I mean, it's so amazing. That's going to be one of my top books. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Bye.